Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and Arizona Cardinals GM Steve Keim proved once again that drunk logic is always better than no logic. You hear me, Dave Gettleman? And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and you should never come to a gunfight with a knife, or it's going to end with a bye-bye and rocking the baby. And that's my confirmation bias.
Wowzer. I'm Ambassador Dad. Alcoholic drinks with coffee are the devil. And that is my confirmation bias.
Facts.
I'm Redo. And on this week's episode of Game of Thrones, the Red Witch was the real MVP. She was everywhere her team needed her. But never forget, that bitch birthed a smoke demon on the beach. So either her snatch is ill or it's ill. And that's my confirmation bias.
Wow. And I'm Ambassador Chef Curry. And just like the writers of Game of Thrones, the New York Giants front office does not care about black people. And that's my confirmation bias.
Welcome to Confirmation Bias, hosted by the League Ambassadors. As a reminder, please check us out across all social media platforms on our handle at The League AM, on our website, theleagueam.com, where you can catch all of our content, our flagship NFL show, 32 Kings Road, as well as our blogspot, Diplomatic Immunity, where you, the fan, can drop your bars and spit your hot fire as it pertains to the world of sports. For those of you who are catching us on Facebook Live, please share the feed. Please put your phones on airplane mode as well. Also, send any comments, submit any questions, and we'll attempt to address them at the end of our show in our segment, Diplomatic Immunity. Please download any of our podcasts, Confirmation Bias, 32 Kings Road. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch vodcasts. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is under the banner League Ambassadors. And please download the Twitch app and follow our channel under the banner as well, League AM. We will do all kind of live ignorant events where you can watch all our shenanigans. This is episode 70 of Confirmation Bias. A lot's happened since the last time we met. We didn't have a show last week. So on today's episode, we will discuss some...
A couple people needed to be bailed out.
Sometimes it happens. If you follow us, you know what we're talking about.
Man.
Oh, wow. So we're going to discuss some Major League Baseball, NHL, and NBA playoffs, and boxing. But first, let's talk about some football. As Ambassador Kenny Ken alluded to, I believe, or one of y'all, I'm sorry. Maybe it was the other dude with the K. But let's talk about the NFL, the draft specifically.
Not my brother. It's the other dude with the K.
One of y'all. Hey, I already said we're off.
Yeah.
So this
got
past
15 this time.
Yeah. This past weekend, from Thursday to Saturday, the NFL draft concluded. We'll discuss what transpired in it, and only the way that the league ambassadors can. So we're going to do an NFL draft redo or recap. So let's get to the fuckery. Besides the Giants, which team had the worst draft?
So you got to start with besides the Giants.
Yeah.
That's what, because we're all in agreement
Been
that
unanimous.
Absolutely. And aside from like them picking Daniel Jones and trading back into the first round to take a cornerback that wasn't even highly rated, let's just look at the drafts that everyone else in their division had. Everyone else in their division had a great draft. And in fact, I mean, well, for me, the Washington Redskins, talk about it later. But you got the Cowboys that drafted well. They added to the O-line. They got a defensive line. Draft. The Eagles had a awesome draft. They hijacked the Houston Texans, which, again, another foreshadow for me.
Yep. You're jumping the gun, son.
I know.
Answer the question asked.
But the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Because, Kevin, I think you said this right at the beginning of last season that the most important player for them is whoever their left tackle is. The point being that Deshaun Watson, listen, on the way to the playoffs last year, he had to catch the bus.
Why do you have to catch the bus, Kenyon?
Because his ribs were busted up. He couldn't fly on the plane. He would have died.
That's insane.
So what do you think, Omar, you need to be focused on if you're the Houston Texans going into the draft?
When you have as many holes as they've had, but the most important thing is what? O-line.
They have a type.
And you have a quarterback who likes to run, he likes to be mobile, so you have to protect that quarterback. The thing about their draft is the fact that I don't know if they've drafted one person who is a day one starter. Like they drafted the most mediocre players out of any team. Everyone is like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Their first round pick was somebody out of Alabama State.
Titus Howard.
And their target was Andre Dillard, who they allowed the Philadelphia Eagles, Howie Roseman, who does this every year. Howie Roseman has been robbing the league for the last 3 years after Ozzie. It's Ozzie and then it's Howie. Ozzie's retired, now it's Howie. They let Howie get in front of them, take the top left tackle in the draft, one pick before them, didn't cost a lot, just one pick before them.
And it hurt.
But there was other tackles out there.
There were other tackles out there. To your point,
No,
Les,
we need mediocre though.
to your point, there were 51 offensive linemen that were invited to the combine. Only 29 of the 51 that were invited were drafted. There were 33 offensive linemen who were not combine invites that got drafted. So what does that tell me? That tells me that there are plenty of offensive linemen out there for you to get. They may not all be ready, but to coach up. They had 6-7 picks. They drafted 2 linemen.
Yep.
One that they could have gotten later in the draft, and then a second one that they overdrafted, Max Schlepping, out of wherever, Idaho State University, wherever he's from. I mean, just awful.
What kind of comp you think Alabama State had?
Well, that's the thing. So, but before Kev hasn't said anything, but are we all in agreement that it's Houston? Because that's exactly
that's
why
what you had.
Yep.
You didn't.
I think the 49ers kind of had a thinkless draft. I mean, Nick Bosa was the pick that you just take by default with number 2. But did they also draft a punter in the fourth
round?
There were a couple of teams that they was punters and kickers was floating in the 4th and the 5th, strangely enough.
Hey, Kev, remember Lynch fleeced Ryan Pace, but go ahead, talk your shit.
It's a team that's so void of talent, and they got to build around Jimmy, and they're trying to get back in that division. You don't even have to draft a punter anymore. I mean, you just bring a guy in and try him out. you a 4th round pick?
We got one of those.
We expected so much for them last year, and then Jimmy got hurt. I mean, like you was about to say, Devin, I'm sure we could sell him a punter.
We got one that does both. He just got to stay away from Green Mountain 33rd. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I don't know what some teams are thinking, man.
All right, so we are basically in agreement with that. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, which team do we think had the best draft? Kenyon, you started to say that.
The Washington Redskins.
And I agree with you. I think the Skins...
District of Columbia team.
Right.
Thank you, Omar.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you. We apologize. We apologize.
Black power.
Yeah.
They got their franchise guy, I think. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a star right away, but they got him.
Yep.
He's a local kid.
Yep. They didn't have to move up to get him.
They didn't have to. He fell to them. They were able to read medical reports better than a lot of other teams.
Hey, say that again. Who are you talking about?
Say that again.
Because Sweet just fell.
Sweet and Sweat.
Well,
my
it's
bad.
definitely Sweat.
Sweet was. Yeah,
It was but it was misdiagnosed though.
Yeah, but everyone else had the same information.
I think everybody's got team doctors, though, right? So,
that is
because it was misdiagnosed at the combine.
Yeah.
You can still bring him in and have your own doctors.
That just
to look
means
at
you
him,
weren't
right?
all in on him anyway, because they did their work,
Man.
and they got a top 10, top 7, 8 talent.
Right.
Where
they got, I think,
in the second round,
right?
No, they traded back in the first round to get him.
Oh, okay. But they got him late. They got him late. But then they also, and a lot of people weren't too excited about this pick, but I actually think the Bryce Love pick is okay.
I think it's fucking great.
Because although he has the injury, he doesn't have to hit the ground running because they have Peterson, Piron, and then they have Geis coming back.
And people forget about Geis.
Yep.
And they got him in the fourth round. And this was a guy who was a Heisman Trophy candidate the year before last.
Before the tear, the word that people use to describe him was explosive.
Right.
If he gets 85% of his
That
explosiveness,
still means he's explosive.
yes, with him and Geis, if Geis comes back,
Piron's a good side piece too. Is if you want to run a 3-headed monster, you don't have to have a workhorse anymore. Trust me, we know.
I also like the fact that with Dwayne Haskins, you go and you grab his number one receiver. Now, granted, Ohio State, they run a lot of different receivers, but Terry McLaurin, being able to grab him in the third round, I mean, and then they got 2 interior offensive linemen, which is something that they've always needed. Like, they made good use of their picks.
Even their 7th-round pick, what's his name? Jimmy Moreland.
Yeah.
He's little known. He's very
Cornerback
slight.
out of James Madison.
He's slight of size, but that just means in the NFL he moves inside. But nickel corner is basically a starting
it's a commodity.
Yeah, like especially in this time of the NFL. And in the Senior Bowl, he was giving people work.
Right.
So this kid, his talent will outweigh his
where he was drafted.
Yeah.
And before I kick it to the other guys and see what their opinion was, the last thing I'll say about the Skins, they had a great draft, but I don't know if this saves their coach. But I mean, he doesn't have any excuses unless they just completely shit the bed.
Well, remember, they were 5-1 before Alex Smith.
Yeah, they were headed to the playoffs.
Yeah, they were a playoff team. So, again, another reason why what the New York Giants did.
Beating that horse. Just beat it. Kevin.
Wait, tell me, do we want to keep beating this horse?
We should. We should.
Hit dogs always holler, baby. Shit.
That has been used so much in the last week. Kev, do you agree or do you have a different team?
Who had a great draft?
Yes.
Yeah, I went with Indianapolis's football team. I think they were able to draft on the field. They were able to address important needs, which we all know their defense has been struggling, to say the least. I think the Paris Campbell pick was a steal. But also just that weekend, I don't know how much of the draft you guys actually watched, but when Reggie Wayne and Pat McAfee came on stage to announce the picks, they were talking their shit in the hometown of the Tennessee Titans at division rival. I think that whole weekend belonged to Indianapolis.
Reggie told them to shut up.
A lot of times. He said, "Don't make me go get the tape."
Junior Blue.
That was great.
I actually had somebody else in that division, the Jaguars.
Yeah. Yeah.
They turned around. They got Josh Allen to come off the edge.
Uh-huh.
And then they got a tackle in the second round, Jawan Taylor, which I think me and Kenyon was like, when is he going to go? When is he going to go?
The best tap, and not even off of tape at the combine. I mean, his tape is great. At the combine, to me, he was the most impressive tackle. And for him to drop in the second round.
Doesn't it feel like a Coughlin type draft?
Yeah.
Yeah. Meat and potatoes.
And then they got a tight end, Josh Oliver from San Jose State.
Yep.
And he's a catching tight end. He's not a blocker. He's going to go out and give some kind of kick to that offense.
Patriots had a sneaky good draft, too, which, is disgusting to even say out loud, but, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of fucking picks.
Well, they always do. It's the Patriot way, baby.
Yeah.
Staying with you, Redo. One of the questions we want to address is best match of player to the team. Might not necessarily be the best pick, but that just fit perfectly.
Right.
Who did you have?
I had a tie between Kyler Murray.
Yes.
And it was basically because it's his coach. But I think
that's funny.
The luckiest player is Greedy Williams.
Hey,
Going to,
good
yeah,
call.
going to Cleveland.
Because
Good call, Omar.
he gets to shine by not doing shit because that line is sick. He's across from what's his name, Ward.
Denzel Ward.
Like all he has to do is be competent, and he's going to look like he's great.
And by all accounts, he's very competent. He just didn't like to tackle. He's got a little Deion Sanders to
right.
him, a little bit, but he's got great makeup
Guess what
speed.
side
Which
we
you
run
need.
into.
Right. He's got great. He's got great makeup speed. He is the best cover corner in the draft. He fails simply because he's got a prima donna air to him, and again, he doesn't tackle.
And that defense is perfect for him.
The defense is perfect for him, and also the fact, and I think I said this to you guys Saturday, the fact that he's there with Odell and also Jarvis Landry, I think
Keep
a
him in
lot
the
of that
pocket.
prima donna is going to wane off, and he's actually going to probably be the steal of the draft for the Cleveland Browns. But I agree, that's a good call, Greedy Williams to Cleveland as far as another match.
Kevron, who's your best match?
No, I actually agree with Omar. I didn't think anyone else would spot out Greedy Williams. But on a team full of divas, I think I agree to your point, Kenyon. I think that he'll kind of be able to mature, grow into the fold, and kind of be that guy in the background. But also, the pressure won't necessarily be on him because there's so many other pieces on that team that people are expecting to show up that he can kind of just fill in and be, in my opinion, even though it's to our detriment as a Raven fan, I think he'll fill in pretty well.
Yeah, unless he starts getting picked on, and because people are expecting a lot from that team, and if he's the glaring weakness,
But he's going to be guarding the second or third best wide receiver every time. Like
He's going to end up being the best cornerback on that team.
I agree.
Yeah.
Think
Because
so?
he's good. Yeah, he's good.
He's got the size, and he's got the size. He's a big corner.
well, I had someone we had already talked about, which was Haskins. I thought that fit was because of the hometown. He went to high school. Well, he's not from there, but he went to high school in that area. And again, the fact that you pointed out that they didn't have to trade up to get him.
Right.
Junior Blue, did you have anyone?
I had Kyler.
You had
I mean,
Kyler
it was
as
just,
well?
it was just perfect.
Yeah, I mean I mean you hired Cliff Kingsbury,
Yeah.
who's never won at the college level. You hired him as your head coach. You had to get Kyler.
and it's the Raider way. Go get your guy.
Wow.
Sidebar on that though. how long does Cliff have? Real
That
talk.
was my next question. What's up with Kyler after they fire this dude? Because it's gonna happen.
Well, he should have as much time as Josh Rosen had.
You mean Steve
Wilkes? You mean as much time as Steve Wilkes had?
No, I just mean they gave Josh. They gave Josh 1 year, right?
What did they give Steve Wilkes?
9 months.
Josh had a little bit longer.
You know, I'm glad that they, we are on a little bit of a tangent, but it's cool. We're talking about the draft. I think aside from, and that's what I was kind of alluding to in my confirmation bias, aside from the fact that, Steve Keim definitely overplayed his hand with the Josh Rosen situation, all in all, made out well. They actually had a good draft. They needed wide receivers. They got him. The receiver that they got out of Iowa State is a good pick. I like the Byron Murphy draft at corner. The white boy out of Massachusetts that Dion was like, oh, I didn't know that white people ran that fast. I believe he ran like a 4.3 in the combine.
You're
should know.
racist.
You've got, and then
Didn't Deion play with Tim Dwight?
then you have Christian Kirk. You still have Larry Fitzgerald. They've got weapons there, and don't forget about David Johnson. They're going to flank
Wait, so
David
they
Johnson
drafted
out.
a wide receiver,
Yeah,
and so they have 2 now with him and Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh my God! Stop.
Cool.
So
That's fun.
He may
that's
end up
fun,
being right,
Omar.
but
I say all that to say that I think that they will have success offensively. They've got Vance Joseph to coordinate the defense. We know that Cliff Kingsbury is not going to touch defense at all.
Fans gonna get the rock off how he want.
His job is strictly to make Kyler Murray be the man, and we'll see. We will see. And the thing is that he's not going to need a lot of protection. And in that offense, air raid offense, it's not a lot of down the field stuff. It's a lot of crossing routes. It's a lot of quick hitting options. Kyler Murphy is going to hit the ground running.
is Kyler Murphy Calvin Murphy's son? Or
Yes.
are we talking about?
Yeah. Kyler Murphy.
I feel like it's
Calvin
gonna
Murray.
be, it's gonna be a couple of those today.
We're gonna stop pointing them out because that's just we just gonna have to rock. Yeah. Omar mentioned something a couple of comments ago as far as the Patriots. That's just what they do. For me, I think the biggest steal in the draft was Jawan Williams, the QB, the cornerback from Vandy, because that's just the perfect Patriot.
Yeah.
6'3",
Belichick,
6'4",
big corner.
Just Belichick getting his hands on him and being able to mold him and do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
So that's your steal?
That's my steal. I mean, they had another one, but I figure I'll leave that one out to you guys. But Junior Blue, who'd you have as the biggest steal?
I actually had the safety from Alabama, Deontay Thompson. He went in the 4th round, and he was a ball hawk. And because of a degenerative knee, same thing that Miles Jack had, who hasn't had a problem in the league.
Brashard Perriman had that though too, so. That's
50,
so I'm just saying,
50.
he just. I feel like
And he went to Arizona, right?
Yeah, he went to Arizona. So I
Again.
feel like he's a player. He's a player that could have gone in the 1st round.
Yeah.
Kevron.
I had Denver scooping up Drew Lock in the 2nd round. Only because, hey, Mr. Elway, this is it, man. I mean, we only going to let you play with so many quarterbacks. And I think you got one of the better, more pro-ready quarterbacks in the 2nd round. I think they were able to address their current need for this upcoming season and then hopefully their future, just in this draft. I don't know how he got that far down in the draft, but the Giants have answers to that question. So.
Ken.
I mean, take your pick with either one of Jacksonville's first 2 picks. You know, Josh Allen is a top 3, top 4 player, and they got him at 7. And then Jawan Taylor, they got him in the 2nd. I mean, literally, Jacksonville was looking at taking T.J. Hawkinson, or they were looking at taking Jawan Taylor, who they took in the 2nd round with their 1st round pick at 7. To get Josh Allen, remember, they traded Dante Fowler. They casted away Dante Fowler because they weren't getting anything out of him. I guarantee you, Josh Allen is going to be everything that they thought Dante Fowler would be and more. So for me, that was the steal. Take either one of those players.
I had Taylor also. To get that bona fide 1st round pick in the 2nd round is insane. But I still, to bring his name up again, just because I know they came up and got him, but man, fucking Greedy Williams. like, if he turns out to be what I think he's going to be, that's a steal. That's a steal. And that defense will be the best in the AFC North Division.
Moving on.
Fucking moving on.
It's a good segue, though, isn't it?
No. So back on our last episode of 32 Kings Road, we had an ambassador renege on his fan status. So Kenyon, you can just kind of take a back seat to these next set of questions because they don't apply to you.
Happily.
You see, can y'all look around like you be talking about anybody else?
Like we ain't all married to our team.
So I'll start in order of record. I'll start with you, Junior Blue.
That's petty.
I got that. I got that one. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Y'all next, motherfucker.
Yeah, we next. That's not petty. That's just facts.
So now,
Petty facts.
now we're talking about the drafts that our teams had, our fandoms had. What do you think your team did? How do you think they did?
Overall, I like the draft. Their first pick, I wish we could have traded back and got him.
You still
But we didn't. I don't have a problem with him as a player.
Tried, and they said that they did try. He tried to trade back.
Man, that's typical.
But that's what I'm saying. Even if they did or didn't, it doesn't matter because I like the player. So if we could have got picks, that would have been great. But each player we picked, from Farrell to Jacobs to Abrams, all players that are going to plug and play at areas of need. So I can't be mad at that. And then we got, backup players. We got we drafted players that now we can cut. Like we drafted Moreau, the tight end. Now we cut Lee Smith. We will cut Lee Smith. Sorry, Lee, if you're watching. And save a couple $1 million. So I definitely liked it.
And who was your favorite pick?
Jacobs. He's gonna plug and play and be he's gonna be a Pro Bowler.
Okay. Kevron, I'll start with you. The Baltimore Ravens were second in this pecking order. By default. But how do you think we did in our draft?
I think it was a solid first draft by Mr. Eric DeCosta, even though he's been here for 20-something years. First year's GM, I think it was pretty solid. We addressed the wide receiver position, which has been a struggle for the however many years
3.
we've been striking out. I definitely like the Miles Boykin pick. I know we got Hollywood. He's got the speed. I think he's going to, complement Lamar Jackson. But I think being able to draft a big possession wide receiver is something that we've never been able to do. We've only been able to get it through free agency when they're 33, 34 years and older. So it'll be interesting to see if at least one of these guys pan out in their first year. They'll be the greatest wide receiver that the Ravens ever drafted.
And not to shit on his other attributes, he does run a 4.4 Boykins, so he's not just a big possession receiver.
Oh no, he can fly. It's just in terms of what Lamar Jackson's going to need throughout his development. We can have the speed guys, we can have the tight ends, but do we have a receiver we can go to on third down?
So he don't fly next to Hollywood.
No, nobody does that. I think that we drafted Fournette, which we always do. Well, actually, sometimes we do best available. But you get someone like Ferguson, who holds the college football sack record, the person who used to hold that record.
His nickname is the Sack Master.
Yeah, you know who used to hold that record? Suggs.
Oh, wow.
So we replace, there's some symmetry there. And we drafted for speed, baby. Like, we got the fastest wide receiver. We got one of the fastest running backs, if not the fastest running back. And like I said, Boykins ran a 4.4. So we definitely got faster. For me, Kev, my favorite pick, which may sound like a cop-out, but I think it's Hollywood. We've never had a player like that on our team. We've never picked one up in free agency. We've never drafted one that doesn't play the quarterback position, which last year we did. But we never had someone that could move the needle like that. So that was my favorite pick. What about yours?
I went with Boykin. Favorite just in terms of it'll be interesting to see if he can be what we've never had. I'm just a little concerned about the injuries with Hollywood. The saying is if I'm sorry?
It's a Liz Frank.
But even still, for him to be able to, at his size, and not to say he's necessarily slight, but at his size, to be able to withhold what's going to happen in the AFC North, like Omar pointed out, it's a different brand of football. So I'm just hoping him, as well as Lamar Jackson, can hold up, because they're going to be the staples of our offense for the next 4 or 5 years, at least, if they're together.
And moving on to insufferable, cuz. How did the Bears do in their draft?
The who?
Why am I insufferable, cuz?
Why am I going last?
I mean,
because you got the fewest picks.
Because
I had the best record.
You had the weakest draft out of everybody.
Shit. Watch it turn out to be one of the best.
Well,
pray tell.
Okay, David Montgomery. Let's talk about it.
Khalil Mack, you can't...
Stop it! You taking my thunder. Get out of here. I got this, motherfucker.
Trying to help you out.
You ain't got to tell. You ain't got to help me. I got
You're
this.
right, because you fit it. You Chicago Bears fit it.
Motherfucker,
He got on orange drawers.
He got on
hey, baby.
orange Speedos.
And the socks.
No, you ain't got no socks on. Who you talking to, Omar? You don't ever wear socks.
Yes, I do.
You better stop shooting Omar Bell. He better explain what happened. In the
Why
draft.
do you think?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, Mr. Montgomery, the number 2 back in the draft, has a little bit of Kareem Hunt. He got a little bit of beast mode. He has a little bit of everything you need, everything Nagy needs.
Now we embellishing.
No, we not. Watch the tape. I'll put his tape up against any running back in the game.
We saw the Kareem
Watch
Hunt
the tape.
I don't know how much
Not that tape. Not that tape.
Yeah, Kev.
He's great off the line. He's great at blocking. He's a shifty runner, and he will run you over. He runs most of the route tree for a running back. He will be perfect for this offense. Now, after that, everything was more about value. I didn't really agree with the Ridley pick, but he brings value at where we drafted him. I think it's more of a replacement pick. But we didn't have a lot of picks. The one thing, if you look at what any expert out there, we had the best undrafted free agent class in the league. Everybody who did, we brought in at least 3 or 4 4th or 5th round graded draft picks who didn't get drafted in. Wrap it up, B. It's fine. It's cool, Y'all talked all day. But since I don't get to answer my question, my best pick is Khalil Mack, the former Raider.
There you go.
That was our first round pick.
Kenyon, real quick, out of the 3 teams, who had the best draft?
Raiders.
Ugh.
Raiders had a good draft.
Raiders by a lean, but you guys did well. I was impressed with what Baltimore did. Yeah, I was impressed with what Baltimore did because I said this to you guys. I'm interested to see if you guys are fully going to embrace this run. It's
all on Lamar.
It's going but it's all on Lamar, but it's in a different way though. I think they're going to do some. We're going to look back at this season. And this is going to be a turning point in terms of how football is viewed, particularly when you're talking about running the ball. I think they're going to do some sophisticated things, and they got all the pieces to make it happen. Anyway, let's get to black versus blue.
Yo, you ain't going to keep cutting me off, motherfucker.
Let's get to
What you not going to do?
I'm John Cutter.
Let's get to black versus blue. Hope or hype? The other basketball team in Los Angeles, not named the Los Angeles Lakers,
The only basketball team right now.
agreed to a long-term extension with Coach Doc Rivers, setting the stage for a big summer? ? Hope or hype? Devin?
I'm going to say hope just because that was his best coaching job since Orlando.
I will agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's setting and Kevin, is it setting the stage for a big summer? Do you feel like this isn't the only big signing that's going to happen with the Clippers?
Absolutely. I think it's a great setup. I mean, he took a team without any current or former All-Stars and won 48 games. If you add at least one or two of the free agents this summer to this team, I think that they could become a serious contender in the West, whether it's Jimmy, Butler, Clay, Kawhi, maybe not those guys, but you even got Kemba, Boogie Cousins, Ricky Rubio. I mean, you got so many guys, maybe a piece or two can take this team at least to the second round of the playoffs.
My question is, if you add somebody like Kemba or Jimmy Butler, does that mess up what the Clippers had? Because, I mean, the way they played hard, they played together, they let Lou Will have the ball.
But
and now you're dropping Kemba in there?
You have to drop somebody in there. Like, I don't want, let me take this back, because I was being a dick. Y'all know I don't like that motherfucking coach. I have to give him all the props in the world,
right.
because that motherfucker, Doc Rivers, coach, come on now. You know I talk so much shit about Doc. Doc coached his ass off this year. He deserves Coach of the Year, hands down.
Omar, you know what that is?
What?
It's growth.
And he gave him the Obama.
Don't do that to me again.
I disagree because the culture is so much now that all 12 or 15 guys have bought in it, because you can see that in that series. If one guy come in prima donna, they going to have to see eat dirt. And I got eat dirt putting hands on my fucking locker room.
This is the problem. That person comes in, he's going to be making $30 million a year.
Eat dirt and shut the fuck up.
Everybody else going to be making $7.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I mean, like you said, is he going to mess up their flow? That person has to fall in line with
It's a star-driven league.
Isn't he a free agent?
It's a star-driven league. Eat dirt can shut up. Like, if you come, if they paying you
For
the
those
money,
of you that don't know, Eat Dirt is our affectionate name for Patrick Beverly.
It ain't
somebody find the Boondocks clip so you can see what we're
Patrick Beverly,
AKA Nightcrawler.
Patrick Beverly is Nightcrawler. Eat Dirt. Les, I think you ask a good question.
It is a good question.
I think to your point, I think the best fit, it's probably the top two.
Yep.
It's either Kevin Durant or it's Kawhi Leonard, and I think you only need one
of those
for that team. But that's an interesting point.
To fit that culture, it would be Kawhi.
That was good.
We actually need that on the soundboard.
Hope on that stat. Hype parity in the NHL playoffs. Will it lead to increased popularity? Listen, after the first round, 3 of the top 4 regular season finishers are out. 4 of the worst 5 seeds actually advanced to the second round. All of the series are tied with the exception of last night. St. Louis got a last-second goal, so they're up 2-1 against Dallas. The Islanders and Carolina's up 2-0 in that one. But very competitive playoffs. Mm-hmm. Hope or hype, more popularity for NHL.
Before I answer the question, before the playoffs started, we talked about Tampa Bay.
We did.
And they got fucking swept. Okay, all right. So there's that. For me, it's fucking hype, bro. Because
he's out for them.
yeah, it's hype because now I don't know anybody left. Fuck them.
Yeah. I mean, I know San Jose because that was a great series against Vegas,
series.
and that game 7
was ridiculous.
Les?
It's hype because you still gotta search to find a game on TV.
It's 2 channels.
Yeah, NBC Sports.
NBC Sports and NBC. But do you know what your NBC Sport is?
That's what I'm saying.
I know on DirecTV
Hey,
it's
guys,
220.
Let me know when it's my turn.
You want to see a real lot? I was trying to throw the lot.
See,
Red up.
Hey, you took my shit earlier.
Red up.
Listen, I'm going to do the same shit I said for the Masters. They don't give a fuck about me. I don't give a fuck about them. Y'all are the 4 black people who probably watch hockey. I ain't going to be the 5th. Ain't nobody watching that shit, and I hope it dies.
damn. I mean, let's be real. Hockey playoff is legit.
Omar,
It might be, but I ain't watching it.
Oh, that's
I'm
funny.
gonna try to piggyback Omar's point if I can. It should be hope for me personally. I haven't watched as much of it this year as I did last year. But I do think you have a point when they're all 4 wildcard teams advance and the division leaders lose for the first time ever. I think that hockey, and one of the reasons for that might be, I can't claim to be an expert, one of those reasons might be is because it's the most physical, next to football, it's the most physical of all of the major sports that don't have necessarily like a one and done kind of like this
single elimination.
Right. So this extremely taxing sport, you have to play a 7-game series. I think at the end of the day, it may kind of supersede the best team winning because of how physical it is, and the best team may not always win because of those reasons.
Could you imagine if, like, for the NFL playoffs, if it was a 3-game series?
Oh, it would be ridiculous. There would be more fights. People would be getting put to sleep.
The Jacksonville Jaguars would be the best team in
But before we move on quick, Kev, since you have access to TV, can you try and find or get an update on Steph Curry's finger injury?
Because they're saying it's jammed or broke.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Slug.
Kevin's beard is 3 years away from being hockey ready.
All right, hope or hype. Danny Jacobs states that his physical advantages will allow him to defeat Canelo. That matchup is this Saturday in Las Vegas. Canelo is turned into the Cinco de Mayo fighter, the first Saturday in May fighter. And he's going against Daniel Jacobs. Hope or hype that the physical advantages will allow Daniel Jacobs to get the upset. Red O.
Jacob smokes a lot of weed.
Omar, you're on fire.
Yo, he hallucinating. I mean, I get it. I understand it. You got to prop the fight up, but
Oh, damn.
damn. But Canelo.
That shit broke, cuz.
Oh shit!
It's shit like this.
Oh wow!
It's nasty.
Hey, pop
Sorry,
that bitch
Omar.
back in. Canelo is at the height of his powers, and as much as I appreciate the skill that Danny Jacobs brings to a fight, he doesn't have the skill to overcome what Canelo's going to bring to him.
Hope or hype, Dev?
It's hype for the simple fact, almost a mirror what he said. Skills beat Canelo, not size. I don't think Danny has it.
Junior Blue?
Hype. I mean, you look at that picture, they make that picture look like Danny Jacobs is what? He's 6 inches taller.
I mean, he might be.
He might be.
I mean, he's 6'6", and Canelo is
5'7"
and a
ish.
half.
So he's gonna get outboxed by Canelo, right? Do you think
he's gonna
Canelo
get
hurts
countered.
him?
He's going to get outboxed by Canelo, yes. Like, Canelo is the best boxer in that division right now.
Does it go 12?
Maybe because of the size. That's it.
All right. Newsworthy or nothing to see. The Utah Jazz, who were eliminated, and they were eliminated by the Houston Rockets, 4 straight. Their future. Ricky Rubio, who Kevin had already mentioned, is an unrestricted free agent, and Derek Favors has a team option, not a player option, a team option at $18 million. I think they will probably decline. Exactly.
They've been trying to get rid of him for the last 3 years.
Exactly. So newsworthy or nothing to see that Utah will have something to build on, or are they going to be going backwards because they're losing two key pieces to their team?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's newsworthy just because they have a bona fide star that they need to build around. So it's newsworthy that they have these pieces that could potentially leave. So they either need to piss or get off the pot or find something else or do something.
It's going to be hard to find something to come to Utah though, right,
that's the
Junior Blue?
problem.
Right.
That's the problem. Nobody's going to Utah.
Yeah.
So
They
is
got-
it
they got
Especially
a
black
draft.
players.
so newsworthy or nothing to see then, Kev?
Well, I think it's newsworthy because they do have something to build on. I think they're going to struggle because, especially with black players coming to Utah, but I think they can kind of model building their team through what we see with a team like with the Denver Nuggets or with the Milwaukee Bucks, where it's more so depth. You get a lot of quality pieces instead of trying to land that star player because that player is not coming. So I think you got Mitchell, you got Rudy Gobert, who I think is still going to be there.
Right.
If they can either get some shooters, some quality shooters, some athleticism to stretch the floor, they can build off of what Mitchell is good at, what Gobert is good at. But I think they have to do it in numbers and not just leave it up to these two guys who, in my honest opinion, can be replaced with the long list of players that's going to be free agents this summer.
Newsworthy or nothing to see. Game 7 Saturday, San Antonio Spurs, Denver Nuggets. The final 26 seconds of that game was something that you would not expect to see from a Greg Popovich coached team. They were down, I believe it was 4, so it's a 2-possession game. 26 seconds left. Denver gets the ball, and they had several opportunities to foul. They did not. Newsworthy or nothing to see that is how the season ended for the Spurs.
I think it's newsworthy just because it's Pop. Like his teams, even if they lose, they play the way he wants them to play. And that was the play of a team who was not coached by Greg Popovich.
Basketball IQ is a real thing. And they didn't have any in the last 26 seconds.
Kenyon? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Kev.
Overall, they are a young team. Outside of the few vets that they have. And I think it speaks volumes that Pop is willing. I think it came out today that he's willing to extend his contract. So if he wants to build with these guys, to me, it's nothing to see. I think he has faith in them despite what happened those last few seconds of the game. And then keep in mind, is it DeJounte Murray?
Yeah.
Was out all year. He was expected to make a big jump this year and didn't. So I think the fact that Pop is coming back, he should be back next year. I think the Spurs will be right back in the playoffs like we're used to seeing.
Pop ain't got nothing else to do. What else he gonna do?
True.
Drink wine.
He literally doesn't.
Kenyon, while we were having coffee on Sunday, we had, I don't remember our conversation, but
I'm probably sure that I don't.
Okay.
Coffee doesn't usually make you forget conversation.
Because I don't drink coffee. Keep going.
Yep. It's nothing to see here because this is not the team.
He's like,
this is not the team we're going to see next year.
Right.
Still newsworthy.
RC, we're looking at you, baby.
No. Talk to me.
Damn,
wow.
he don't
he
remember.
it's a lot of forgetting from Saturday.
Well,
He tried to rock with you, he couldn't.
it's all right.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, you saw Pop come out on the floor and wave his hands, and they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And we know that they have 2 B players,
Right.
and let's just say that Pop is like, oh, okay, I'm taking inventory. This ain't
Yeah.
gonna be the same
Well,
fucking team.
one is the cowardly lion, the other one doesn't have a brain.
Hey,
And that's right. So okay. So I'm with
Spot
you.
on.
I'm with you, and I don't know that RC's gonna do that because, how are you gonna get better? So let's
run the tape.
Let's run the names here. LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. This
That's
is why,
what we're talking about.
Exactly, and this is why I think it is newsworthy.
Which one is which?
I think it's
Well, DeMar doesn't have a brain, CBT's finest, and Aldridge doesn't have a heart. So
that's a little too close to home. Omar.
That's a little. So you're calling him a coward, the lion, or you're calling him the Tin Man?
All right. Let's move on to hitter.
Exactly.
Let's go to hit or flop fast.
There's a slug reference in there somewhere, Kev.
Sam Presti, hit or flop, expects Billy Donovan to return as coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kevin, hit or flop?
Listen, man, it's a flop. It could be Billy Donovan, Ray Donovan, Donovan McNabb. It don't matter who that coach is. If Russell Westbrook is their primary decision maker, bring anybody in. It won't make a difference, bro. It won't.
Are you clapping for Ray?
I'm clapping because that's exactly what the fuck I had.
Donovan Darius.
And I agreed. It don't matter.
Wow.
And
It don't matter. Is Russ
from-
bringing the ball up the court? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
So it's a flop.
first series exit.
It's a
Donovan
flop.
Razor Reddick.
It's a flop, Junior Blue.
Yes. Come on now.
Hit or flop. Dabo Sweeney. 10 years, $93 million. And you would think that I was talking about professional sports, but I'm not.
We are, though.
But we are, though. I see. Head coach of the Clemson, head football coach of the Clemson Tigers, signed the largest deal in college football history for head coaches. 10 years, $93 million. Hit or flop, Redo?
Hit. He actually deserves the contract that he has, unlike some NFL coaches.
Or unlike Jimbo Fisher in Texas A&M.
Exactly.
I mean, he did win 2 of the last 3 national titles. I think it's just crazy that we're talking about supposedly an amateur sport.
But he went to 3, though, in a row.
He went to 3 in a row.
It's still
yeah.
$1 billion
It's a factory.
amateur sport. Like,
Clemson's a factory. They gonna keep on. Look at our draft class. They gonna keep on pumping out.
Look at every dreaded wide receiver in the league.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I
and
think
we
he
get the one
definitely
without
deserves it,
dreads.
right? I think he deserves it, but it just goes to show how much money, like you guys said, that college makes not paying athletes or even giving them any type of subsidy. I mean, I think it was 2017, 2018, Clemson made $42 million in revenue. But Dabo Sweeney can have a licensing agreement to make money off of merchandise that has his name on it.
Right.
But players can't? Come on, man.
You's a smart motherfucker.
Smarty art.
Hit or flop. Baseball is no longer for veteran players. Here's what I mean. Every player that currently has a WAR or wins above replacement average of 1.5 or greater is under the age of 28. Hit or flop that baseball is no longer for vets.
Flop.
I'm listening.
It's a generational thing. This is
And you are in that generation, aren't you?
look. Yes.
From the line.
I just think the game has changed in the last 10 years, and there are still players who are from the generation before, and I think there will be players coming up where in the next generation that stat that you just quoted won't be the same as people under a certain age, because now you have to be like before you had to be defined for one thing in baseball. Now they define you by the many things you can do. Like the baseball is changing, and I think this generation that's coming up now, when they're after a certain age, will still be.
So no more Pete Incavillas.
Yes, if that makes sense.
It didn't. It did.
It makes sense to me.
It did make sense.
It makes sense to me.
Hey, we
You brought up age. It's a different generation.
hey,
I feel you, Omar. Somewhere deep, dark below, I feel you.
and we let the old man rock.
Hey, I tried to fight for my people.
We don't believe you. You need more people. Hey, so
Y'all gonna stop with the age discrimination around this motherfucker.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the opposite of Brother Omar. I'm gonna
Young
say
motherfucker.
You gonna say something?
I'm saying hit simply because now that those are the coveted players, or those are the stars of the game, or the ones that are driving home the wins.
Fuck you, Kenyon.
Maybe some of those old school unwritten rules, political bullshit that holds baseball back will start to leave, and then maybe it'll be a more marketable sport.
That's where we got from that?
We got somewhere.
Strike 2. Anybody got anything? It's strike 2. I'm gonna listen. I'm listen, Kevin. I'm gonna say it's
No. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say that it's a flop, or no, it's actually a hit because maybe they've gotten steroids out of baseball. Maybe the old motherfuckers can't juice up, so they're not contributing on offense anymore.
So my point is right. The next generation is going to erase that stat. That's what I was saying in the first place. That's what I said.
We need a crickets fucking.
Kevin, please save us. Please save us with diplomatic immunity. Before I throw it to you, though, shout out to Chief Diplomat Nick Blackman. If you have not checked out his article on the Baltimore Ravens recap of the draft, please do so. Also, if you have something to say in the world of sports, I'm telling you, hit us up. Make a submission to diplomatic immunity. We'll put it on the website. Kevin, we got questions out there in Diplo land?
Just don't be ageist.
Quick update.
Wait. Just don't be what?
Ageist.
Oh, okay.
He almost said it.
Yeah, okay.
Horseshoes, baby.
Quick update. Steph Curry's X-rays came back negative. His fingers are taped. He's back on the court. I don't care what anybody says. Your finger should not look like this while it's still going straight. Whatever happened, he's still playing basketball.
Is it on his shooting hand?
Left hand.
No, it's left hand.
Oh, he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing, but it was disgusting. Quick question for you gentlemen about what we've seen so far, at least up to this point, up until right now, in regards to the NBA playoffs. We have, I'll say we'll go back to yesterday. We have the 76ers came back to tie the series against Toronto. It was Kawhi Leonard's first loss against the 76ers in his entire career. Does anything that we've seen in this second round so far change how you guys felt going into the playoffs in terms of who would be either the final four, two from each conference, or the finals champion at the end of the day? Has anything that you've seen within the last week changed that?
No.
Absolutely not. This is the final four that I had. I think the way that Boston laid down tonight shows me that they still need someone to go fucking get it, because if you beat the number one seed in game one and you come back in game two and you're complacent and you think, okay, we got our one, then you don't fucking deserve to go on. And I thought that if they won game two tonight, that shit was over.
I mean, I honestly, I always felt like Boston was going to beat Milwaukee because they just haven't been here. Philadelphia, Ben Simmons, he don't got it in the playoffs. He is the ultimate regular season player.
Yeah, the triple single last night.
Got it. Don't got it.
Exactly. You know, they lay off of him. He doesn't even attempt to shoot a jumper. So I could see Toronto taking that. So I had Toronto and Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. This Houston Golden State series.
What's the score, by the way?
I don't know.
Kevin,
I had Golden State winning this. After the first game, nothing changed with that.
Kenyon didn't though.
Yeah,
Dubs up 10.
Yeah, and then I still think
Portland.
I still think Portland. Them two is just not enough. I don't think those two, McCollum and Dame, is enough, especially when one checks out the game, for them to beat a team like Denver, who's hitting on all cylinders right now.
Starting in reverse, the answer to your question, I think, is no. I think these are going to be four entertaining series,
Yeah.
and I think you kind of said that last night, that these four matchups are going to be great. I think last night what we saw with Portland and Denver, Portland's got to take something away. You can't let Jokic get off. They don't have anybody to guard Millsap and Jamal Murray. You got to take.
Does Millsap keep that up though? That's the difference.
Honestly, I think he does, because they basically have small forwards. No, they have small forwards matching him.
Joker had a triple double.
Millsap is going into the Hall of Good. Like, you can't don't disparage my man right there. He's going to the Hall of Good.
I'm just saying.
I think,
you know what I mean?
15 and 7 every game.
So which one of those three can they take away?
Jamal Murray. Dame Lillard, the best player in the series, has to do something that, admittedly, we've never seen him do. He's got to defend. He's got to take away Jamal Murray can't get 17.
He can do that if CJ can fucking show up on offense.
They've got to take something away from Denver is what has to happen. I also think Zach Collins is somebody that can help. To that point about Paul Millsap, defensively, I think his length could potentially bother Millsap. But whatever the case may be, all three of those guys can't get off. I still do think Houston wins the series. They're down by 10. That didn't make me feel too good. But I think that...
Harden injured.
I think... Oh, is he injured?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
He flopped and hurt himself.
Really?
Poetic justice.
Keep that same energy, dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. I said Houston in 5 on Saturday. Listen, I did. I said Houston in 5.
Was you smoking?
No. It's not that. Listen, what happened?
It is that.
What
on
happened
Sunday?
On Sunday.
Oh, that's
But
why.
it felt like Saturday. Yeah. What happened on Sunday was this, and it's so funny, but it comes back to D'Antoni. Kerr made a slight adjustment, and you could tell Houston was completely thrown off. They didn't start Bogut. They started out the game going small, and you could tell Houston was completely thrown off from that.
I got a question.
Yeah,
Of the two coaches,
I know.
which one makes adjustments?
Hey, ask him who asked him. Oh, he not gonna remember. I asked him the same thing on Sunday.
Oh, did you?
Which coach
I
makes
definitely don't remember
adjustments?
that. Yeah. No,
It's Kerr, right?
yes.
In the playoffs, nothing matters for coaching more than adjustments.
I agree. In the
think
East,
I think
still like Boston and Toronto.
I don't even think it needs to get to coaching. When you look at the leaders of each team, the superstars of each team, who has the resolve, who has the IQ, the know-how to play championship basketball. We've never seen Chris Paul or James Harden do this in their career. I don't know why we're expecting either one of them to do it now.
I just don't. You know what? You're 100% right, Kevin. I agree with you. I just don't believe in the lack of depth that Golden State has.
Don't
what
get
it
me
comes
wrong.
down to.
Houston should beat Golden State.
Yeah.
No, they
It's not
shouldn't.
on the court.
Stop
It's
that.
here.
No, they
It's
shouldn't.
here.
To say they should is
They
to
have the
go
personnel
against
to.
their history, because you can't say with their coach and their point guard and their whatever Harden position plays to say that they are going to all of a sudden pretend like they're different players. They're not. Harden has always failed. CP3 has always failed. D'Antoni has always failed. Like, to pretend like that history is going to go away right now, that shit is insane. It's insanity. It's illmatic.
And we don't have
Hey,
it.
Omar, don't go anywhere. We got something to do after this.
And we ain't got an engineer right now, so somebody needs to rock
So
it off.
we rock it off. Was there anything else?
I mean,
or do we have to save? We can save now. We good.
okay, we can land there softly.
Please.
Well,
Because we at like 1:20 right now.
no, we're not. Per brother Kev, I think we should call that a night because
Yes.
we have other things to do tonight. So that's our show for tonight, guys. Wink, wink. That was episode 70 of Confirmation Bias. Again, please download the app Twitch and follow the League AM on our channel. Check us out across all social media platforms. Again, it's at the League AM. Please check out Diplomatic Community. Again, check out Nutso Blackman's eloquently written out Baltimore Ravens Draft Recap. Please submit your own writings. Remember, liking is cool, but sharing is caring. And let us know if your bias was confirmed.